Hello everyone. So today we are going to see about the Hibernate query language. So it is an object-oriented query language similar to HQL, but instead of operating on the tables and columns, HQL works with the persistent object and their properties. HQL properties are translated by Hibernate into the conventional SQL queries, which perform the action on the database. So let us see the example of HQL. So here I will be using Eclipse ID. Then we have to go to the file, go to the new. Here we will create one Maven project. Click on Maven project. Then we have to click on next. Then here in the catalog choose internal. In the filter type quick start. Then we have to select here quick start. Then click on next. Then it will take some time. After that in the artifact ID we have to give the project name. So here I will give SQL queries, HQL queries, and here I will take a package as com.test, then click on finish. So the project will be created. Now we have to use the Hibernate, so we have to add the dependencies. So I will be using here Hibernate core dependency 5.6.4. I will give link of this site in the description. From there you can copy this dependency and you can go to the here Eclipse. Here expand this HQL queries project. Then next thing what you have to do is we have to go to the pom.xml, and in the pom.xml we have to paste this dependency. And also here I will be using the MySQL database, so we have to add this MySQL connector J dependency, and here we will use Lombok. So if you want to use, you can add this also dependency. So these are the three dependencies. The link will be provided in the description. So I have already copied this. So from here copy this and go to the Eclipse IDE, and in the project open the pom.xml, and below this JUnit paste this dependency. So Hibernate code, Lombok and MySQL. Next thing here, next we have to add Maven compiler plugin. So this link will be also given in the description. We have to copy this Maven compiler source and target. After copying that, go to the pom.xml, and in the properties below project we have to paste. And here I will be using 1.9 version of Java. So here we have to take 1.9. Now after that we have to save this file. So it will take some time to download the dependency. After that what you have to do, right click on this project and we have to go to the here. It is taking some time. So here you can see that Maven. In the Maven we have to go to the update project, then we have to click on OK. So the project will be updated. Next thing, in the src main Java here, so previously we are using the hibernate.cfg.xml file, but in this what we'll do, we'll use this environment class. So it provides access to configuration information passed in the properties object. So you will see after we'll write this class. So here first thing what you have to do, right click on this com.test, go to the new, go to the class, and here I will create one class called Hibernate util. Then we have to take com.test.util package. Let's save this. So in the com.test.util, Hibernate util class is created. Now here what we will do, I will create here static session factory equals to null, control shift O for importing session factory. We have to import org.hibernate.session factory. Then we will create here one static block. In that we will create object for configuration cfg equals to new configuration, right? Next, Control Shift O for importing. So org.hibernate.cfg.config. So earlier, if you see my videos, in that video we use the hibernate.cfg.xml. In that we give the driver class name, username of database, password of the database, and if you want to see the SQL queries, then we use this show SQL true, format SQL, and HBM to detail auto as update. So earlier we were doing in the hibernate.cfg.xml, but now what we'll do, we'll use here this environment class which provides access to the configuration information passed in the properties object. So first thing what you have to do is we have to create here a properties prop equals to new properties, Control Shift O for importing Java tutorial properties. Here I will take name as prop. Now next thing what you have to do is, so whatever properties we are giving in the hibernate.cfg.xml, that we have to store in the properties. So let me copy this and go to the Eclipse ID, and below this I will paste. Control Shift O for importing this environment. Let's save this. So if you want to see this environment class, so press Control Shift T, and here we have to type environment, then click on OK, and here we can see public class environment. And if we go above, you will find that here, so it provides access to the configuration information passed in the properties object. So if you don't want to use the XML file, then you can use this way. We have to create a properties object, and in that properties object we have to pass the information, configuration information. Now let's go to the Hibernate util. So here what we are doing, environment.url. So we have to give the here JDBC URL of database you are using. Here I will be using the MySQL. So JDBC:/MySQL localhost 3306/new. I have created a schema in the MySQL database with the name new, and this is the port number of the MySQL. Then here we have to give the username. So whatever username you have, then password, and if you want to see the SQL queries that are executed by Hibernate internally, then you can set this property as true. Then if you want to see formatted manner SQL queries, then you have to take here format SQL as true, and here HBM to detail.ito I am taking as an update. That means if the table is already present, then it will use this table, otherwise it will create the table. This is done. Now next thing what you have to do is cfg dot, here we have to use the method called set properties, cfg dot set property, and here we have to pass this properties object. Now we have to create one entity, and after that we will add here cfg dot add annotated class. So first of all what I will do, Hibernate HQL queries project, we have to, I will update this. It will take some time. After that, right click on this com.test, go to the new, go to the class. Here we will create one employee entity, employee in the com.test.entity entity. Click on finish, so the entity will be created. What happened? It is not valid, so com.test.entity, now it is valid. After that, here I will take private integer id, then private string name, private double salary, private string department. Here we have to annotate with entity annotation as that entity from javax.persistent package. Now as we have added Lombok, so I will use here add the data to generate getter and setter methods. Here all ask constructor, Lombok annotation, no ask constructor. Now If you want to change the table name, if you want to give the table name, so here we have to use add the table annotation, and you can give in the name whatever name you want. So we'll take here emp tab. Now this id we have to take as a primary key, so add the rate id annotation from java start persistence, and we have to generate the values at to generate. So strategy equals to identity. So what will happen, the table will be created with the 4 columns, 1 2 3 and 4, and the name of the table will be emp tab. The columns will be id, name, salary and department. Right, this is done. Now I will be creating here one constructor. Alt shift s, create generate constructor using field, uncheck this id and click on generate. Now entity is created. So go to the Hibernate util cfg.add annotated class. Here we have to use employee dot class. Now after that, here we have to take factory equals to cfg dot build session factory. Next thing, we will create here two methods, public static session factory get session factory, and from this method we have to return the factory object. Also we'll create one another method for session, control alt down. We have to take here a session only, and we have to take name as get session factory dot open session. Let's save this, control shift O for importing session, import org hibernate session. Let's save this. Next thing what you have to do, let us see. Let me update this project, refresh. Yes, entity is done, util is done. Right, next thing, we will store some data into the database. So for that, go to this app class, then here get the session factory object. So session factory equals to Hibernate util dot get session factory. Next thing, get session object. So session ses equals to Hibernate util dot get session. Control shift O, import this. We will use here try with resources. You will get the here error if you are using the Java version less than 9. It is supporting above equal and above the 9 version. So that's why I have taken the my1 compiler, added my1 compiler plugin with the version 9. So now we have to save the data into the database. So we have to create employee objects, emp objects, right? So I have already created the employee objects. Let's control shift O for importing. So here I created 10 employee object having name Sam, John, Randy, Brock, Angela, Carla, Raja, Ranis, Ram, Sandy. They are having the salary this much and their department is this, QA, BA, Dev, right? Now next thing, we have to save this object. So we have to begin the transaction, session dot begin the transaction, right? Session dot begin transaction. Now let's save this. So session dot save employee 1, control alt down employee 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, control alt down and employee 10. Now commit the transaction. So session.get transaction dot commit. So now let's run this. Control F11, run as a Java application. Click on OK. It will take some time. So here you can see the queries are executing. First query is create table emp tab, because in the MySQL in the new schema there is no table. You can see that earlier. Now so we have here the create query will be executed first. Then next is we are saving this employee object, 10 employee object we are saving. So insert operation, insert query will be executed 10 times. You can see that insert how many times is there? 10 times, right? And now if I go to the MySQL workbench and if I refresh, you will find that here is the empty tab. Click on table icon. Here you will see that 10 columns, 10 rows are there. ID, department, name and salary. ID will be in the here 1 to 10, because we have taken at the generated value, strategy, identity. So it will be auto incremented, and we have provided the name, department, salary. So according to that, the data is saved into the database. Next thing, right click on this com.txt, go to the new, go to the class. Here we'll create one class called test, and let me take this main method and session factory, copy this, go to the test. Let's take this try block, and here Control Shift F for formatting. So now we'll write the HQL queries. So this is session factor object, session object, and try with resources. So first we'll write a HQL query for select star from employee. So this is a SQL query. How to write a HQL query? So we are selecting all the columns. So in the HQL, if you are selecting all the columns, this is not required. So HQL will be like from, and in the place of the table name, we have to take the entity class name. So whatever entity we have created, that class name we have to take. So here I will take this. So in the SQL query, we take the table name, but in the HQL, the entity class name we have to take. So this is the SQL query, and equivalent to this, the HQL query will be like this, right? Now next thing, we have to create the query object. So query 1 equals to session dot create query, and here we have to use the HQL query from employee. Next thing, execute the query. So this will return us the list of the employees. So list of employee, list 1. First of all, we will import the query, Control Shift O, import javax.persistence.query and import java.util.list. Then we will have here one method in the query class called get result list. The return type of this is list. So it will give the list of the employee. Now we have to print the list. So list one dot for each system dot out colon colon println. I will be printing this. Now we have to execute this. Press Ctrl F11. Run as a Java application. Okay. Here we go. 10 records are coming because we have 10 records in a table, and you can see that the query is select all the column names from EMP tab. Right, this is done. Next, if here we want to write this query, select star from EMP tab, where name in Sam and John. So this is a SQL query. Equivalent to this, if you want to write HQL query, how can we write? So as we are selecting all the columns, we didn't require to write in HQL, so directly we will write from, and at the place of table we'll write entity class name employee, where we have to write, then this is a name, so this is a column name. At the place of column name we have to give here whatever we have given the variables created, that, so this is same name, so that we have to give, where name in. Now here we'll use the ordinals, that is positional parameters. We'll not hardcode this directly like this Sam and John. Instead of that, we'll take here a question mark 1, like we do in the JDBC in the prepare statement. So question mark 1 and question mark 2. So this is a HQL query equivalent to this SQL query. Now let us create this. So first we have to create a query object. Let me copy this above and paste below here. I will take here a query to session.create query, as we have written this query. Let me copy this and paste here. Next thing, set the parameter values. So query to dot set parameter. First is at one position we have to give Sam, Control Alt down. At second position we have to give the John, JHON, right? So the parameter is set. Now execute the query. Same, let me copy this all the thing, copy and paste here. Instead of list 1 I will take list 2, and here query 2, right? And we have to print the list 2. Let's save this. What will happen? Here is 1, here is 1, so Sam will go to this place. Here is 2, here is 2, so John will go to this place, and we'll get the result. So here the result of this query will be only 2 employees, that is Sam and John. Let's save this, Control F11. Here we go. Sam and John records only we will get, right? Now in these positional parameters, what are the valid ones? So we can take here a 0 and 1, but we can't take one parameter as 0 and one position as 0 and another as 2. There should not be the gap between the position you are taking. It is not allowed. 50 and 51 we are taking, that is allowed. So if we take in this query 50 and 51, what we have to do is, at the place of this one we have to take 50, and place of 2 we have to take 51. So you can take this 50 and 51. The negative values in the positions are not allowed, so this will be not allowed. And there is no gap in this 11 and 10, so we can also take in the decreasing order, or otherwise if you want to take in increasing, like 1 2 you can take. So there should not be any gap and there should not be any negative position. So that are the two things you have to follow. So let me take here 1 and 2. So if you want to see, if I take here a 50 and 51, it is also allowed. So let me take again, we'll see the by executing this. Let's save this, control F11. It will be executed. As you can see, Sam and John is coming, right? Next thing here, we'll use here name parameters. Now here the query will be select star from emp tab where employee id is greater than equals to 5 and id is smaller than 10. That means we have to select the employee which is having the id between 5 and 10, right? Here the HQL query equivalent to this will be from employee where id. Now go to the employee, here for the id the name is id, so copy this where, and here we'll use named parameters. So id should be greater than equals to colon minimum and id is smaller than equals to colon maximum. So these are the name parameters. We can set value to this. So let us see what we have to do. We have to create a query object. So let me copy this, paste here, delete this query. Let's take name here as 3. Now HQL query will be like this, copy, paste, set the name param values, query 3 dot set parameters, minimum as 5, control alt down, and maximum as 10. Execute the query. List of employee list 3 equals to query 3 dot get result list. Print the result list 3 dot for each system dot out colon colon println. So in the place min the 5 will be go here and the place max 10 will be on here. So control F11. What happened? Syntax exception where in the line column 40 entity employee id. What happened here? HQL query rule. Here I have written the query in the wrong way. So here this id and where is repeated twice. So where id. So let's save this, control F11. Now here we go, between 5 to 10 id we are getting, right? Now we can use positional and name parameters in the same query. Let us see the example. I will take the same example like this, copy this, paste here, query 4, 4 4 and list for query number 4 and list number 4. Let's save this. Now here in the name param, what you have to do, colon and the name you have to provide, colon and name. So min value will be gone here, max value will be gone. So colon and name you have to use in the named parameter. Now here we'll use both the positional and name parameter. So I will take here question mark 0 and max is a name parameter. So if you want to save this, set value to 0. So what will happen, it will see 0 0 is here, so 5 will be go into this, max here, so 10 will be go into this, right? Now let us execute this, control F11. Here we go, 5 to 10 is coming. It is the result of query 4, and this 5 result, it is the result of query 3. That means we can use the name and positional param in the same query, right? Now in the previous queries we are retrying all the columns, but if our requirement is retrying only specific columns, let us see how can we retry specific column. So let's take example, if we want only id, name and salary of the employee, then we can use this query. So first is create the query object, query query 5 equals to session dot create query. Now we have to retry only specific column, so select id comma name comma salary, and this column names in the HQL query we have to take this variable names, id, name and salary, right? From at the place of table we have to take entity class name employee, where id is greater than equals to minimum and id is smaller than equals to colon maximum. Here I will be using name parameter. Set the param values. So query 5 dot set parameters. Now here, so here we have to set the parameter values. So minimum now I will take here as a 4 and maximum I will take here as a 7. Now execute the query. So I will copy above code. Now the list, here I will take 5 and query of 5. Now here we are retrieving specific column. So list of, here we will take object array. Why I am not taking the employee? Because here we are not selecting all the columns, we are selecting only specific column. So here we will get object array, not the employee. Now we have to print the result. So we'll use here a for each object for object value in the object system dot out dot print value system dot out dot println. Let's save this. Now control F11 for executing. Here we go, 4 to 7 is coming, and we are only getting the specific column that you want, name, id name and salary. We are not getting the department column. Only thing we have to write here is select whatever columns you want to select. Next, the return type, we have to take list of object arrays and we have to print like this, right? So this is about the multiple specific columns. Now we'll see if you want to select only the retry only single column. Suppose the query will be like select name from the employee table. So let us see. Create the query 6 equals to session dot create query. Select name from employee. Now execute the query. So it will give list of object. Why? Because we are retrying only one column, so that's why we are taking here object. List equals to query 6 dot get result list, print the result list dot for each system dot out colon println. Let's save this, control F11, let's execute. Here we go. Sam, John, Randy, Brock, Angela, and so on. So here we are getting only one column values. So if you want to retry only single column, you can use like this. Now the result of this, you can see that Sam, John, Brock, Randy. Now if you want this name in the ascending order, what you can do, we can give here order by name in the ascending order. ASC we have to write. Control F11. Here we go. In the alphabetical orders, you can say that the result output is in the alphabetical orders. Angela, Block, Carla, John, Raja, Ram, right? Now if you want in the descending, we have to use DESC. Order by name in the descending order. Control F11. Here we can see in the descending order, in the reverse order, you can see that. So you can also use here order by clause in the ascending or descending. Next we'll see HQL query for the single record. That means we write a query select star from emp where id equals to 5. So it will give only the employee corresponding to id 5, that is only one single record. Now create the query. So query 7 equals to session dot create query. We have to write select I will write from, because we are not selecting only specific columns, from employee where id equals to colon id. Set the param values. So query 7 dot set parameters id equals to 7. I will take. Execute the query query. Now it will return the employee, as it is only one record emp, and we have one method in the query called get single list result. Why? Because we are getting only one single record and we have to typecast here. So let me typecast to the employee. Now print the result sys out emp with id 7 is emp. Control F11, run this application, and here we go. id 7 Raja, salary, department is coming, white. So if you want only retrieve only single record from the table using the HQL query, you can retrieve like this. Now next we'll see the query for single record multiple columns. So in the previous query we are fetching all the columns of the single record. Now we'll fetch all the specific columns of the single record. So create the query 8 equals to session dot create query, and we have to write here a select. If I want only id and name, I will give id and name from employee, where id is equals to colon id. Set the param values, query 8 dot set parameters, id equals to 4. Now execute the query. Here we'll get object array obj equals to query 8 dot get single result will take, and we have to typecast it to the object array. Why we will get object array? Because we are retrieving only specific column, that too from one single record. Now print the result. Sys out id obj at 0 position, name obj at 1 position. Let's execute. Here we go. id is 4 and name is Brock. So this is a way we can retrieve single record with the multiple columns. Next query we will see for single row single value, that is only single value we want to retrieve, like select only the name from emp where id equal to 8. Create the query 9 equals to session dot create query. Select name from employee, where id equals to colon id. Now set the param values, query 9 dot set parameters, id is 2, I will take. Now execute the query. As we are getting only one value, that is string, name equals to query 9 dot get single result, and we have to typecast here to the string. Now print the result. Sys out name of emp with id 2 is name. Control F11. Here we go. Name of employee with the id 2 is John. So this is the way we can select. If you want to select single value, you can select like this. Now we will see the queries having the aggregate function. So if we want to count the number of employees, number of records present in the table, You can use here count of star. So let us see. Create the query. Query query 10 equals to session dot create query. Select count of star from employee. Now execute the query. Here long count equals to result query 10 dot get single result. We have to typecast it to the long, right? So it will give only the count of the records. That's why I am taking only long of count. Now print the result. Sys out number of records is count. Control F11. We should get the answer as 10. Why? Because in the table we have the 10 rows, so 10, you can see that. Next we'll see the query for the multiple aggregate functions, like if you want to find the minimum salary, maximum salary, sum of salary, average of salary. Let us see. Create the query. Query 11 equals to session dot create query. Select maximum of salary, minimum of salary, average of salary, sum of salary from employee. Now execute the query. It will give object array AR equals to query 11 dot get single result. We have to typecast object of array. Now print the result. So sys out maximum salary is AR at 0 position, control down. We'll get minimum, then average, then sum of salary at the position 1, 2 and 3. So the maximum, minimum, average and sum will be stored into this array at the position 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are printing this, right? Control F11. Here we go. Maximum salary is 7,000. So in the table you can see that the only maximum salary is here 7,000. All the other salaries are below that. And next is minimum salary is 5,000. So 5,000 minimum salary in this table. Next we have average salary like this and sum of salary this much, right? So this is a query for multiple aggregate functions. Next we'll see about the HQL subquery, that is query inside of the query, like this. So if you want to retrieve the employee information which is having the maximum salary, then we can write query like this. So let us create a query. Create the query. Query 12 equals to session dot create query. Select. Here we will not write select star because we want all the columns. So I will write from employee, where salary equals to select maximum of salary from employee. Now this is a inner query. and this is a outer query. So execute the query. It will give list of employees. There can be more than one records which is having the maximum salary. So list equals to list 12 equals to query 12 dot get result list, print the result. So list 12 dot for each system dot out colon println. Let's execute control F11. Here we go. So these three employees which is having the maximum salary 7,000 are coming. So this is a way we can write a query inside the query. Now all these queries whatever we have seen, these are the select queries. Now it's time to go for the non-select queries. So in order to use the non-select queries, we must execute these queries in the transaction environment, and we must use the method called execute update method, and these non-select queries will return only the numeric values, that is the number of records that are affected by the query. So let's suppose we write here a delete from emp where id equals greater than 5. So if we execute this query, the output will be 5. If there are total 10 rows in the table having the employee id from 1 to 10, then 5 records will be deleted and that 5 will come here. So greater than 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there will be 6 record will be deleted. So the value will become 6. So it will return the numeric values. And if we update, let's suppose update emp set salary equals to salary plus 1000 where department equals to dev. Then if there are 3 employees in the dev department, we will get output as 3. Why? The number of record affected that will be written by the non-select queries. So output will be 3 and in this case it will be 6. So let us see how can we write non-select queries. So for that what I will do, I will create one another class with the name non-select. Enter. Let me copy all these session and session factory. So go above and we have to copy session and session factory. Go to the non-select. First of all I will write here main, paste. This is done. Control Shift F for formatting. Now here we'll first write update. So update emp where emp salary where here update emp salary. Let me see. Here we have to see set salary equals to salary plus 1000 where what will take where department equals to dev. So in the table whoever the employees which are working in the dev department, their salary will increment by 1000. Now if we go and see the dev department salary is 7,000, employee salary in dev department. Now we have to increment to 1000. then their salary will be 8,000, right? So now we'll first create the query. So query equals to session dot create query. So here we'll write update employee entity class name we have to take, set salary equals to salary plus here I will take parameters as increase where department equals to DPT. So we are not hard coding the values at the place of this incrementing salary and department. We'll set these values. Now set the name param values. So query dot set parameters increment, we have to increment by 1000. Next query dot set parameters, we have to take department as dev. Now execute the query, so it will give us the count. So query dot execute update. So by mistake I forgot this. Before executing this we have to begin the transaction, because as it is a non-select query, so we have to first of all begin the transaction. So how to begin that? So session dot begin transaction. So whenever you are executing non-select query, first thing we have to do is we have to begin the transaction. So this non-select query will be executing only in the transaction environment. So first we have to begin, and after executing we have to commit the transaction. So session dot get transaction dot commit we have to do. Now let me print. So sys out number of records updated is count. Now let us execute Control F11, run as a Java application. So here we go. Number of records updated is 3. Why? Because there are only 3 employees which are working in the dev department. So earlier the salary is 7,000. If I refresh this, you can see that salary is incremented to 8,000. In the dev department 8,000 is coming, right? So this is the way we can use this update operation. Now next, we have seen the update. Now we'll see the delete query how to write. So delete from emp tab where id is greater than equals to and id is smaller than equals to 4. So id between 2 to 4 employees will delete. So first, this is a non-select query, so we have to begin the transaction. Session dot begin transaction. Now we have to create the query, right? So query equals to session dot create query is delete from employee where id is greater than equals to min and id is smaller than equals to max. Now set the param values. So query dot set parameters min as 2 and max as 4. Now execute the query. Int count equals to query dot execute update. After that we have to commit the transaction. Session dot get transaction dot commit. Next is print the result. So sys out number of emp deleted is count, control F11, so we should get count as 3. Why? Because there are 3 employees in between 2 to 4, so we are getting as a 3. Let us see in the database whether these are deleted or not. So here you can see the employee ID 2, 3 and 4 employees are deleted. You can see this in the table. So this is all about these non-select queries. You can practice this. You can write as whatever you want, and whatever query, whatever according to requirement, you can write delete and update query, and also you can write the select query. So this is about the HQL queries. So I will try to give the link of all the code in the description, and if you like this video you can hit like button and subscribe to our channel.